this is Dr. Kim. Welcome back to 10-Minute Wellness Video Series. Today's topic is fat. This is the earth element. This fourth secret is called increased natural fat. If you're with somebody, give that person a high five and say, increased natural fat. If you're by yourself, tell yourself, increased natural fat. Now, people are wondering, well, we're supposed to be on low-fat diet, but that's not really good for you. You need to be on the right fat diet. Now, what does it mean to be on the right fat diet? Most of us are thinking that we should not be consuming a lot of fat, but that's really not very good for you, because other than the water, which we talked about, is 70% of our body, the other 30% is the matter. Out of the 30%, 20% of the 30%, with 2/3 of that, is fat. So you're mostly fat, other than the water. So you need to ingest tremendous amount of good fat to replenish all your body, especially the covering. Now, why do we have to eat so much fat? Because your covering, every covering of your cell, 85 trillion cells, it's called cell membranes, or every part of your hair, your fingernails, all of those are made of fat. And especially every part of your organ is covered by this fat. So your whole body's bag, literally, is fat. So you need to ingest tremendous amount of good fat to be healthy. Now, a lot of people say, well, how do we lose weight then? One of the best way to lose weight is when you detoxify all the toxins that we talked about earlier on the sessions, then your fat's going to go, because one of the functions of the fat is to really be a reservoir for toxins. So when you don't need these toxins anymore, your fat don't have a place to go, and then they're just going to go away from your body. So one of the best way to do it is to, when you detoxify your fat, detoxify all your toxins in your body, that fat really going to go with them. And a lot of people say, well, you shouldn't really have a lot of cholesterol, right? A lot of people are very afraid of cholesterol, which is rightly so. You should be afraid of cholesterol, because if your cholesterol goes over 200, it's really not good for you. But you have to understand that cholesterol actually does a lot of great things for your body. It makes digestive enzyme, it makes your sex hormones, it makes your vitamin D from your sunlight, and it makes every covering of your cell membrane, including your nerve membrane. So it's very important to have good cholesterol, which is, we call them HDL. I call this a happy cholesterol, because you need a lot of the HDL. You need to have over 40 to 60 to really have a really good amount of good cholesterol. Bad cholesterol, we call them LDL, which is short for lousy cholesterol, which is not good for us, and you should keep that level down below 100. So it is very important to have a lot of good fat to really be healthy. Then what kind of fat is good fat, and what kind of fat is not so good fat? Now, I call this the good, bad, and the ugly. Let's start from the ugly fat. The ugly fats are like what we call a trans fat. You've probably heard of trans fat. Now, trans fats are very, very bad for us, because the reason we made trans fat for all this product is to make this fat last forever, so that this fat will never decay and die. So we add hydrogen into this fat. We either partially hydrogenate it or hydrogenate it. When you put hydrogen into this fat, it doesn't die, but it was never alive. It was dead to begin with. So these are very, very toxic stuff. So these are artificial fat. You should try to avoid it at all costs. So when you look at the labels like this is Twinkie. I used to be addicted to this. When I was in college, one day I was moving out of my dorm, because after the whole year was gone, and I was cleaning under my bed, and I found this Twinkie. And it looked perfect. In other words, I must have had this under the bed for at least a year, and when I got this, it looked exactly how I got it. In other words, it never died. In other words, it never was alive to begin with. So when you have this trans fat, which is in every packaged good to make it last forever, because they don't have expiration dates. When you have this type of thing, it is toxic, not only toxic, but it's dead. So when it goes into your body, it's going to literally kill you. So this is very toxic stuff. It was never alive, and it would never die. So be very careful about all the packaged goods. The other thing is very popular, Doritos. Now, this says 0 gram trans fat, but if you look at the label in the back, there's so many things they put in here that are so toxic to you, including the trans fat are actually in here. So very, very important for you to really avoid anything in a package. The other very common thing that people put a lot on their salad, thinking that, well, salad is obviously good for you, but if you put a lot of this very trans fat rich food into this salad dressing into your salad, then the salad is going to be dead. You have all these great greens, but you're mixing it with something terrible, so it's really not going to be good food for us. So avoid trans fat at all costs. I call this tragic trans fat. Follow me. Tragic trans fat. It's really tragic that you have to eat a lot of this trans fat, which is very, very bad for us. Next one is the ugly fat. I call this very saturated fat. Now, saturated fat are mostly the animal fats. We call this omega-9 or omega-6. These are very saturated, packed, and condensed fat. And more legs you have, in other words, the very important principle you need to learn is that fewer legs, the better. In other words, more legs the animals have is worse for you, more condensed or saturated fat, such as multiple-legged ones like crab or lobster or shrimp. These have lots of legs, and as you well know, they have a lot of cholesterol, and they're very saturated, and they taste really good, though. I really love them, too, but they're really, really bad for you. So stay away from multiple-legged ones. The other ones are the four-legged ones. The four-legged ones, you know them, the cows and the pigs, the lambs. These are very saturated also, so be careful of this multiple legs, especially the four-legged ones. Now, the better ones are the two-legged ones, the poultry ones, the chicken and turkey, and these are a much better, less saturated fat. And some omega-3s can be found in this, especially free-range chicken and free-range turkey, and those have a lot of omega-3s. And also the eggs, if they're free-range eggs, they have so much more, higher content of omega-3 in them. So try to get free-range at all costs. And the best one are the no-legged ones. As you all know, in the fishes that are swimming in the ocean, they have no legs, but they have a lot of omega-3s, which is really good for you. And the best, obviously, the best fats are, we call them the good fat or monounsaturated fat. They have a very thin layer of fat so that they can be made into your cell membranes or nerve tissues or skin tissue, fingernails or hair. All can be made very easily with this omega-3s, which all of us need tremendous amounts. So like plant omega-3s, they're like the seeds and nuts. The best examples are almonds. You can see these almonds here, and these are very, very good for you because they have so much more omega-3s in them, and it goes into your body, breaks down really quickly, and makes all the covering of the whole body really quickly. So I really recommend you eat a lot more olive oil, your avocados. A lot of these are really, really good natural plant fat. So stick with a lot of this really good fat, and you need to increase this good amount of fat, tremendous amount. Then when do you need to eat all this fat? We talked about eating breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Now, you need to have a tremendous amount of a good fat, such as this omega-3 that we talked about. Most important thing that you have to understand is the ratio between the omega-3 and the omega-6. Now, omega-3s, obviously, the plant ones, should be about 1, and then omega-6 should not be more than 4. In other words, a 1 to 4 ratio. A lot of the Americans eat 1 to 20 ratio of omega-6s, or up to 1 to 100 of omega-6s, which is all tremendous amount of saturated and trans fat, so which is really toxic for us. So how much to eat of the fat is really important, and the rule that I made is called the rule of thumbs, and this is to increase the natural fat. Now, what does that mean? Now, if we already talked about the plate, and we got the greens on one side. We got this palm-sized sugar, and the other palm should be a combination of protein or fat or animal product or omega-6s, and these two thumbs represent omega-3s, the plant fats, the olive oil, the nuts and seeds. These to be eaten tremendous amount or increase that amount to offset the ratio, to decrease the ratio of omega-3 versus omega-6. When you do this, by increasing your natural fat of nuts and seeds and avocado and olive oil and even more fishes into your diet, you're going to feel amazing. You're going to start shedding more pounds. You're going to start detoxifying more. Your skin and your hair and your fingernails and your toenails, all are going to be radiant with youth and more energy. So I want you to really take this into your heart this week and increase the natural fat of all the omega-3s this week, and then decrease the amount of saturated and trans fat into your diet, and you're going to see amazing results. So next week we're going to talk about supplement, vitamin, minerals, daily. Thank you.